Welcome. This is All Minus One Quick Shots. Hey folks, it is February 22nd, 2021, and the nation is still experiencing the microwave 7-Eleven burrito. We seem to be frozen in the center and warm on the outsides, or sort of, kind of. I was in Florida the other week and it was nice and warm, 80 degrees, very sunny and humid. Left after a foot and a half of snow and returned a week later to a foot, well, not quite a foot, I guess 8 inches of snow. Um, Fortunately, did not hit the last of that till right before I was home, right before the state line. So it is snowing again today, and that means I got to shovel some snow once again. But no big deal. Par for the course living in this area. But other places in the United States that do not have the normal and regular infrastructure, the tax dollars sent to the government to be spent on items like snowplows, chemicals, salt, whatever else, they're having trouble, right? We all have heard this. We heard about the green energy production, the wind turbines that are frozen and not working, and just dozens of Texans out of luck, right? A lot of people, hundreds of thousands, who have no power. And the supermarkets are being depleted. Why would that be? Well, supply lines, folks. When it snows, it gets harder to deliver things because truck drivers, they can't necessarily get through the snow, right? And if you do not have the infrastructure, you don't have the, let's say, maybe tractors, snowplows, whatever it is, the chemicals, just basic rock salt to spread around, it's going to be pretty slick out. So what is the point of all this? Why is Bill bringing this up? Well, I am bringing it up for the simple fact of who in the world told you that the government, who told you that the government, who told you the government is your daddy? Is the government your sugar daddy, that he's supposed to take care of all this? She's supposed to take care of all this? Your mommy and your daddy takes care of you forever? There are a lot of people out there right now complaining about Senator Ted Cruz. Senator Ted Cruz having gone down to Cancun during the storm. And of course, he apologized, which, why? Ted Cruz cannot do much of anything about any of this. And most of this is on the Texas state government, but really it is on the individual. Why are you not prepared? Why do you not have a backup generator? Maybe you didn't expect this thing to happen. Okay. Well, I don't expect to get stranded by the side of the road, but I can tell you, I have emergency blankets, I have a shovel, I have supplies, I have a first aid kit. Maybe I'm just some crazy guy that used to be in the military, and I just think differently than the rest of you. Or maybe I actually have a practical view of the real world, and I mean that. Practical, as in I do not worry about things, but I prepare in case things do not go appropriately. Like, if you are in typical weather that is very hot all the time, all year round, and all of a sudden it's snowing, maybe you wouldn't have thought about it. But what about that emergency food? What about that extra emergency water? What about the numerous things that you should be having? You should think ahead just a little bit, just to sustain yourself for a week or two, however long it may need be. And now people are complaining, of course, that the government isn't doing enough. When did you become an adult child? See, I left childhood a long time ago. Now, I did go through an adult child phase for sure. And, you know, I wish I hadn't. Life would have been much easier, would have been much better. But when did you start that phase of your life? When are you going to grow up? The number one problem with our society is we are not self-reliant. And this goes way, way, way down a rabbit hole, because this goes all the way even to our own manufacturing. So this is on a corporate and governmental level, as well as a personal level. Because the reality is that governments will reflect the people. And so Breitbart had his famous phrase that the culture comes first and politics are downstream from culture, correct? Well, in part, that is true. What you have to understand, though, is it's a matter of who is willing to maintain a culture and who is willing to socially engineer. And those who are in power, who are in charge, have been scheming for a very long time to socially engineer us into being basically slave and cattle. We are debt slaves. We are not living in a free society. We are living in an illusion with mantras about freedom that don't really exist. Now, am I more free here than many other nations? Of course. Of course I am. So I'm not about to get into that comparison of modern nation versus modern nation. But notice, if you would, how folks on the left, or who like authority, who like the state, will often compare us to other nations that have states that essentially take them and infantilize them. And then when the state is no longer doing the people's bidding or providing them with the free healthcare, the free, universal basic income, the free public transportation, the free whatever else, none of which is free, by the way, folks. You pay for all of that by your labor, and many folks, they don't decide to go to work. In any case, if you look at those folks, when those things get taken away because it's just not feasible in the long run for economic reasons, primarily the lack of competition. But if you pay attention to those nations like, let's say, Greece, then everyone complains, oh, the government's horrible, they take away all of our stuff. Look, I'm not saying Margaret Thatcher was a perfect PM, but there was some very hard calls that she had to make because in England at the time, the Labour Party, the Socialist Party in England, had been in control for so long that they were on the complete verge of bankruptcy. Their economy was being destroyed. And so to this very day, people think that she is absolutely evil for, basically stopping certain welfare payments and changing things around a bit. Now, of course, we could get into, foreign wars and whatever else if you want to talk about those things. But the point being is that once you give someone something, they tend to believe that they are entitled to it. And again, I just don't know where this mindset comes from. I talked about this last week, about this idea, this slave mindset, and how that you think you're free from it, but yet you keep coming back to it. There is only true freedom when you do what you wish to do, when you wish to do it. There should be a limitation, of course, on that because of what we call, morals or ethics. But see, I choose to be a slave to Christ. I choose to follow Christ versus not be enslaved by things that are out of my control. I actually have taken control of my life and my actions and what I do. I've accepted personal responsibility and accountability. But I also know in my frailties and my weaknesses. But see, that is the other part of this, is that we all know we have frailties and weaknesses, which is why we enter collectives. Our families are collectives. Our communities are collectives. Our tribes, our local culture. And when you have folks dictating everything who live hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, who never will know you, really have no interest in you, who live a lifestyle far more lavish than you could probably possibly imagine, and you expect them to take care of you like you're their pet or one of their children, it's not going to work out too well. And you expect them to develop a culture for you, which doesn't necessarily align with where you grew up, how you grew up, the things that you believe in, it's probably not going to work out too well for you. So wherever this rant has gone, I started this out with the idea that it's snowing and people are in trouble. And I understand that we have those social safety nets. What I don't understand is why local communities and people aren't taking more responsibility. Because that's the only answer, the only solution to all of this stuff. Now, I know that some folks believe a little bit differently, but personally, whether they come for us or not, it's the only way that we maintain a remnant. We maintain a folk that are rugged individualists, is that we escape and get away from this just ridiculous culture of selfishness, of need and want, of debt and slavery, of being lorded over by elitists. Very much so to the point where the New York Times just put out an article suggesting that you should not use your critical thinking skills and research on your own from original first sources and all that, right? You shouldn't be going to primary sources when you look into things. No, you must listen to the experts because you cannot decide for yourself. And folks, if that is the case, the Republic is truly, truly lost. But guys, that's all I have. This has been all minus one quick shots, and I wish you all well.